Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at one of the newest WE knife models to hit the market, and this one here is none other than the WE Knives Quixotic. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. I also want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by White Mountain Knives. Be sure to look them up for all of your knife and EDC needs, and use this code right here, WSW10, for 10% off any order you place through White Mountain Knives. Pretty darn good deal, so take advantage of that when you can. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 7.95 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.45 inches and a blade width of 960 thousandths. Blade thickness on this guy is 120 thousandths with a blade material of CPM, where is it? There we go, CPM 20 CV. Technically a drop point style blade here. It may look like a straight back, but as you can see right up here, that tip, it does drop off. So technically we are looking at a drop point style blade here with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.5 inches and a handle thickness at 473 thousandths with a handle width coming in at 875 thousandths. Handle material, full titanium construction on this guy with a frame lock and a user of a right hand only tip-up carry. Weight coming in at 3.9 ounces and a price of $259. So $259, you're starting to get up there even for a WE knife, especially with this being, you know, kind of a house design. I believe this is isn't any type of collaboration to the best of my knowledge with any designer. So you're kind of getting up there in price, but at the end of the day, with kind of the market doing what it's doing, which is kind of going crazy with inflation and everything, you know, $259, it is what it is. If you think it's worth the money, you'll buy it. If you don't, you won't. I'm not going to be able to convince you of that, I don't think, especially when we get up to that price point. But nonetheless, let's take a look at some size comparisons here and see just exactly what we got. We have a Ferrum Forged Stinger here, which I think everyone is pretty familiar with, and we also have a Benchmade 940. Kind of close in overall length here. This is a pretty unique knife. I don't have a lot of knives that really kind of remind me of this knife, or it really comparable in many ways. So size comparisons aren't the best for this one, but I always think, you know, as long as I use two popular knives, that's better than nothing, you know? So we did that, and I got one other one to compare it with, and there are some similarities with this one, and it's actually another WE. This is the WE Beacon. Came out earlier this year. A lot of you are probably familiar with it. You know, I was a big fan of this knife. I still like this knife a whole lot. Has gotten some decent pocket time, and it's very comparable in terms of like the construction of these two knives, the overall design language. While it is obviously very different in the blade, there's some similarities in the handle and how this was manufactured and finished that do kind of resemble that they came from the same year, at least in my opinion. The frame lock area is very, very similar. The overall width is somewhat similar. Length is kind of similar. So that's about as close as I can get in terms of anything that kind of reminds me of one another in hand, and it's still not very close. So I will be bringing the Beacon back to talk maybe a little more about it later in the review. But for now, let's get right into it and talk about just this guy here. And let's start with the blade. It is a fairly attractive blade. You know, this is one of those blades that I think is going to be very attractive and nice to some people, and I think it's going to turn a lot of people off. So I think it's going to have kind of a very love or hate relationship with a lot of people. There are some nice little designs along the spine that you don't see on a lot of other WE knives. You kind of have that very small swedge up here leading to that very, very quaint drop point that barely drops, but it just does the very end. Kind of have this weird, you know, gap or drop here, this little cutout area. I don't know what that is, or I'm assuming it's just for, you know, aesthetics. I guess it is kind of, yeah, it is a bit of a harpoon blade. Don't quite realize that until you know, look at it a little fuller, but it's one of those, it's so different, harpoon may not be the first thing that comes to mind, but at least for me anyway. Back here on the jimping, this is very functional jimping. Don't fool yourself. There's not a lot of it, but I will say this is probably the most effective and functional jimping I've ever felt where there was so little of it. So it is still very useful. I do still like that a lot. Definitely going to give you a little extra traction up there on top of that blade. Now, going into the handle, you know what, one other thing to mention about the blade, do have an edge reading of 19 thousandths behind the edge, so, you know, slicey enough. You know, I feel like 17 thousandths is more kind of like the benchmark within the industry right now between WE and Kaiser and Civivi and CJRB and, you know, Artisan. A lot of them are coming in there right around 17 thousandths, but 19 thousandths is fine. No issue there whatsoever. Now, going into those handle and ergos, overall the ergos are really good. I don't have a lot of complaints about them. I just have one complaint, and ironically it's with one of the things that I actually like most about this knife, and that's the pocket clip. Now, before I say what I don't like about this pocket clip, I've got to give WE credit because they finally put a milled clip on their knife again, on one of their knives. You guys know with the Beacon, I'll bring this back out, it had their stupid trash clip on it that was the bent over deep carry, you know, cookie cutter clip that I was not a fan of. This is actually a clip from a Finch model 1920. Really like this clip a lot. And I like Finch knives a whole lot. But at the end of the day, I just had to put this clip on here because it goes so well on it and it really makes the knife kind of next level for me. But it came with a crap garbage clip. This one does not come with a crap garbage clip. It comes with a very nice clip. There's just one issue with it. One little issue. There needs to be some contouring on the end of this clip. It's rather high, and that's okay. But there's so much extra, you know, material on this clip. Steel, obviously we'll call it steel. But if there could be some contouring, you knock that down a little, soften it so it doesn't have that harsh edge. Now, it's obviously not sharp or anything. It is lightly chamfered, very lightly chamfered, but you really feel that clip in hand. The end of it. You feel just the end of it. Again, this milled clip here is serving its purpose in terms of helping these ergos and making them feel good, because the ergos, like I said, at the end of the day, the ergos are overall pretty darn good. I just feel the end of that clip more than I want to. And if that clip would just be contoured and softened more at the end there, you would have some fantastic ergos. But instead, you just have good ergos that really kind of depends on the user's hand size and what they personally feel is going to determine how much they like or dislike it. But I do still like the ergos even as they are, because the end of the handle here just kind of disappears into the bottom of my hand. It really does feel good, and it would feel perfect. I mean, it would be like absolutely excellent ergos if there was just a little more contouring done on the end of this clip. But other than that, have no knocks on the ergos of this knife. They're pretty darn solid. I really do appreciate all the details around this handle. You know, there's the milled areas up here. There's milling on the back of this back spacer, which I think is just fantastic because it really gives you that extra little grip. You know, not that it's really going to make a huge difference, but, you know, maybe you do need to back up a little and hold the knife like this for some reason. If you're really reaching up somewhere high, you know, you have that. And if you don't even use it as a functional jimping, it does just look pretty darn nice. I like the blue anodization to the hardware to match the handle. That's very nice. And I like the stone-washed finished on the titanium, on the anodized titanium. Feels very good. You have some nice little milling here on the frame lock that's nice. There's just details all over this knife that I think when you get it in hand and actually carry it and look at it, I think you start to appreciate it a little more. And when you disengage that frame lock, and that blade lightly shakes shut. And this is where you get to, in my opinion, the best part of this knife, and that's the action. This knife, I'm going to say it, this has the best flipping action that I've experienced this year so far from any knife to come out this year. Excellent flipping action. The only knife that really compares with it, it probably is this WE Beacon, and I really do like the action on this Beacon. The difference is really in the flipper tabs. Now, there's pros and cons to the flipper tab of this Quixotic. As you can see, it's a rather unique design. I mean, not super unique, but you don't see it on a lot. More flippers than not will have kind of more of a rounded edge here, so it'll be less aggressive on the finger. And we did a very good job of putting jimping all around the flipper tab, so you'll always have that contact. So whether you're push buttoning it or light switching it, it's gonna work. And that's kind of the case with this one. This one, you don't really push button that much. You kind of have to light switch it a little. But boy, oh boy, does that blade just fly out. I mean, it really does rocket out, and the handle feels so solid. I really think a lot of it has to do with this backspacer. You know, you have got one solid knife in your hand, and the detent is just perfect. And you have that nice, solid, hefty thwack. Just an excellent flipping action, and really a flipper tab that I don't have an issue with. Now, some people may have an issue with this flipper tab with the point of this, or it's not a point, but the corner of it. You know, you might say it agitates or aggravates your finger a little more than you want it to, and it may do that to some people, but to me, I don't have an issue, and it really does. Oh, it just flips out so darn nice. Let me shut up for a second and just listen to it. So good. So good. So yeah, very, very nice action on this knife. And when you combine the action with this blade and the handle, the fit and finish, that it really is pretty darn good on every WE knife. This is a very solid offering from WE. Like I said before, I think the design may not be for everybody, but in terms of action, fit and finish, quality, this is a very, very nice knife. It is one I definitely would recommend. It's a pretty unique design too. You know, sometimes you start to see a trend in some of WE's designs and you start to see similarities, but this one overall, I think it stands out from the crowd in a pretty good way. So I like that about that. I like a lot of things about this knife, and I think a lot of people will like this knife. So if you're looking for a new one, want to, you know, get a little more premium feel, premium action, the WE Quixotic is one that I would recommend. Get them while you can. You know, a $260 knife, you can save some good money with that code right there, as long as they're in stock at White Mountain. Check them out. Check them out wherever else if you can't find them at White Mountain. But the WE Quixotic is definitely one that I deem to be somewhat of a winner this year. And who knows, you may even see it at the end of the year, the Wayne Sharp or Wayne Sharp World End of the Year Awards. I don't know yet. Still a long year. But this is a pretty darn good knife. The WE Quixotic, guys, let me know what you think about this one. Hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.